Dear friends, we have to start the work of the afternoon session. So I would like to inform you that this is for you.
There's an interfering sound.
First of all, before we will start to give the floor to the speakers enlisted, I will like to make one announcement. I had an apply from the host country operational team. They distributed to all of you, the guests of this and guests and participants of the session, the forms in order to facilitate the transportation from the accredited hotels to the airport. Therefore, we kindly ask you to fill these forms that 3 hours before your flight departure, you have to be there in the hotel lobbies. That's why we want to facilitate it very comfortable for you. That's why we'll need in advance to know the time of the departure of everyone who was registered like participant of the session. Please don't forget to fill this form and submit it to the staff which will collect it from you. Thank you very much. Now we proceed with the discussion of Samarkand. The first floor will go to Tunisia, but I would like to inform you that the draft decision on the Sundarbans is also ready. As we agreed, we will proceed immediately after the translation will be ready. So after the discussion of Samarkand file, we will return to Sundarbans. Please, you're welcome. Tunisia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie voudrait tout d'abord remercier le Centre du patrimoine mondial et ICOMOS d'avoir fourni un certain nombre d'informations cruciales pour la compréhension de ce site et de la sensibilité de son traitement par notre comité. Il a été question d'une situation complexe qui tient compte d'activités futures annoncées par le gouvernement, d'une situation problématique de conservation. Je crois que tout cela est important et doit être pris en considération. À telle enseigne que nous appuyons la demande du représentant du Centre du patrimoine mondial quant à la demande d'études approfondies et notamment relatives à l'impact des constructions futures, mais cela nous conforte dans notre idée que donc le projet d'amendement est en cohérence avec pareille demande puisqu'il met l'État partie au cœur de l'action de protection du site, notamment pour les années futures. Et la Tunisie, qui appuie la demande d'amendement, souhaite, Monsieur le Président, que l'on écoute l'État partie, d'autant plus que ici, nous bénéficions de la présence d'une représentation politique de premier ordre de cet État et que donc on pourra avoir une idée précise de la lecture et de la stratégie de l'État partie pour faire face à cette urgence. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Tanzania now, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. The delegation of Tanzania joins the previous speakers to commend ICOMOS for their analysis on this site. The site is threatened with threats emanating from management systems, development pressures, and inadequate management tools. We are informed through the State of Conservation report that the state party has undertaken some necessary interventions, including the preparation of the master plan, management plan, comprehensive survey, and the mapping of the property. We also note that some of the information used in the analysis came from the third party. At this juncture, our delegation encourages a dialogue with the state party so as to clarify issues that seem not to represent relevant facts on that particular site. Chair, our delegation for that matter supports the draft decision presented by Azerbaijan because that draft decision aligns itself not only with the analysis by ICOMOS, but also clears the doubtful information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Kyrgyzstan, please.
Thank you, Chair. Kyrgyzstan would like to thank the advisory bodies for the provided report. Kyrgyzstan also notes that some of the decisions in the draft decision have been developed based on the third-party information. That's why Kyrgyzstan supports the amendments and suggestion made by Azerbaijan and encourages the reactive monitoring mission to the property. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Cuba, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. En primer lugar, queremos agradecer a la distinguida delegación de Azerbaiyán por haber abierto el debate con relación a este sitio. Creemos que hay criterios muy sólidos para revisar el proyecto de decisión y en tal sentido creo que el debate ha ayudado a ganar elementos, pero sobre todo me gustaría escuchar los criterios del Estado parte en cuestión y su compromiso con la conservación del sitio. En esencia, estamos en la disposición de apoyar una enmienda a este proyecto de decisión en tal sentido. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Norwegian delegation welcomes and takes note of the report of the World Heritage Centre and ICOMOS. Our main priority as a committee member is to maintain and protect the OUV. All the member states in this room have entrusted us with this task. We commend the state party with the committed work, but the developments happen very fast. We take note of the tendency to move the decisions and also the perception regarding the danger list, which many of us applauded 2 days ago in this very room. We reiterate our position that we see the danger list as a possibility list rather than a blacklist. This is why Norway supports the original draft decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I think that we now have possibility to give floor to the state party to answer the questions which were raised during the discussion. Uzbekistan, are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Please, welcome.
Mr. Chairperson, distinguished delegates, I would like to congratulate Azerbaijan on hosting this session on the highest level and express my gratitude for warm hospitality. First, it is true that our government is strongly involved in the preservation of the World Heritage Sites and take decisions on the highest level to strengthen the legislative and regulatory framework. I give you just one example. Last week, Uzbek Parliament adopted a law that punishes as a crime any destruction of the heritage. Second, we consider the dialogue with the World Heritage Center is crucial to manage the World Heritage properties in our country. We would like to strengthen these relations with more interactions and involvements. Third, I would like to inform you that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit will receive 16 heads of the states. It is an event of very high-level importance for every Asian continent and opportunity for this World Heritage property to show how it is possible to reconcile the modernity and heritage preservation on the contemporary Silk Road. Due to the high-level importance of this summit of 2022 and considering the outstanding universal value of Samarkand city, we are committed to have a very strong collaboration with the World Heritage Committee and ICOMOS to prepare the projects related to this event. As my colleague from Azerbaijan said, I confirm that we will not begin any of these projects before the approval of the World Heritage Center. But this collaboration should be a priority in our agendas. Both the government of Uzbekistan, and the World Heritage Center. A specific task force and the fast-track process should be implemented. So, we would like to assure the international community of our confidence in the great support of UNESCO, of World Heritage Center and advisory bodies and international experts to prepare the best conditions necessary for preservation and sustainable development of Samarkand to reveal its extraordinary heritage. And using this possibility, I would like to invite all of you to attend the International Conference on Tangible and Intangible Cultural Heritage Conservation that we will host in Samarkand on August 26th of this year under auspices of UNESCO. I thank the host country once again for the warm hospitality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of Uzbekistan. We will take note of your intervention. Now I would like to give the floor to representative of the non-governmental organization. This is Institut de Management de Urbanisme, please. Are you ready?
Yes.
Welcome.
OK. Madame la Présidente, Excellences, honorables délégués, Mesdames et Messieurs,
Monsieur le Président.
j'ai pu observer à Samarkand, en Ouzbékistan, que les recommandations du Comité du patrimoine mondial sont aujourd'hui très prises au sérieux par les autorités. Elles donnent lieu, en effet, à des décisions adoptées au plus haut niveau pour empêcher des réalisations qui détruiraient le patrimoine urbain historique. Les autorités témoignent d'une volonté affirmée de définir un cadre précis, projet par projet, pour assurer la meilleure intégration des aménagements destinés à revitaliser les centres anciens. L'équilibre à chaque fois subtil à trouver et le dialogue entre les autorités, les experts du patrimoine et le Centre du patrimoine mondial est certainement le moyen le plus sûr d'éviter les erreurs et d'assurer l'intégration harmonieuse des interventions. Cela se traduit par l'établissement de recommandations architecturales et urbaines, un rapport de 230 pages qui a été remis récemment au Comité du patrimoine mondial, établi pour l'aménagement de chaque site dans la zone historique, la zone tampon et même en dehors de la zone tampon, adoptant ainsi les principes des paysages urbains historiques. Les projets architecturaux sont actuellement en préparation sur la base de ces recommandations. Ils feront prochainement l'objet d'une évaluation de leur impact patrimonial et soumis à l'UNESCO. La construction des hôtels prévus pour la conférence de l'organisation de Shanghai de 2022 n'a pas démarré. Les délais sont très courts pour mener à bien ces projets. La procédure de l'UNESCO et l'ICOMOS devra être conduite avec diligence au regard du contexte exceptionnel de ce patrimoine monumental et urbain et des exigences posées par la tenue de cette conférence des chefs d'État. Je voudrais souligner que les difficultés rencontrées par Samarkand sont similaires à celles rencontrées dans de nombreux pays en développement et en transition. Vous le savez, la préservation et la mise en valeur des paysages culturels et des centres historiques nécessitent la mise en place d'outils spécifiques qui se distinguent des normes et règles en vigueur. Les documents d'urbanisme traditionnels sont en effet souvent incompatibles avec la préservation des formes urbaines, l'utilisation de matériaux traditionnels ou le maintien de la relation toute particulière des tissus urbains historiques avec les monuments et les paysages culturels. Cela nécessite donc du temps et une mobilisation considérable, encore aujourd'hui largement insuffisante, de l'expertise internationale et locale pour apporter les réformes nécessaires. Les dispositifs actuels d'appui sont encore trop limités. Nous devrions renforcer nos capacités en agissant en partenariat avec les réseaux internationaux d'urbanistes et les grands réseaux d'élus locaux, qui sont des acteurs essentiels de la gestion des sites du patrimoine mondial. J'appelle donc volontiers le Centre du patrimoine mondial et les experts du patrimoine, et tout particulièrement ceux d'ICOMOS, à réfléchir ensemble à la mobilisation de moyens plus importants pour venir en appui auprès des gouvernements et des pays en développement et en transition. Il s'agit de les soutenir dans leur volonté de réformer l'urbanisme afin de mieux répondre aux défis posés par la préservation des paysages culturels et des centres historiques du patrimoine mondial. Merci.
Thank you very much. Please don't possess the reglement. I apply to the future speakers. We have limited time. So now we don't have any applies for the interventions. I would like to give the floor to rapporteur to present us the draft decision which was submitted by a group of the countries, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As flagged,
Can you bring it to the screen, please?
a group of countries have presented some amendments to this decision, led by Azerbaijan. The first 5 paragraphs are not proposed for amendment. Paragraph 6 is proposed for complete deletion, as is paragraph 7. And then a new paragraph 6 is proposed. That will read, requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies in accordance with the provisions of paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines, the infrastructure development and detailed project proposals related to the Shanghai Cooperation Organisation in 2022, once completed, including the multifunctional project Samarkand City Tourist Zone. The next paragraph is also proposed for complete deletion. Then we have a new paragraph 7, a new 7b, which would read, reports on the social and other measures taken relating to possible demolition of houses and residential areas. Then the new paragraph 8a, amended to read, the full scope of the development projects, including hotel development, refurbishment projects, and the Samarkand City Tourist Zone project. And then the last paragraph amended to read, finally requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 February 2020 an updated report on the state of conservation of the property and the progress in the implementation of the above, for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 44th session in 2020. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Should we go paragraph by paragraph? China, please.
Thank you, Chair. At the request of the state party concerned, we would like to propose a very small addition to the text, one more clause. Can I read it out?
Please.
Okay, thank you. I'll read it slowly.
To which paragraph, please?
It could be a separate paragraph altogether, wherever it suits. I'll read the text first, and perhaps the rapporteur will be kind enough to suggest where to put it. Okay, thank you.
You put it at 10, yes.
Okay, thank you. Requests the World Heritage Centre to consider in priority the assessment of the design proposals and HIAs that will be submitted as to allow the state party to meet the deadlines for the International State Summit they are hosting in 2022. Full stop. Thank you.
Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We also, Indonesia also considering about the time limit for the state party to face with the program that they already tried to do in 2022. So we will support amendment proposed by China. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what is the opinion? Should we go paragraph by paragraph, or we are coming to the consensus with approval of the new version of the decision in whole? I don't see objections. So can I proceed? Where? Rapporteur, please.
Thank you. Just some minor amendments to the new paragraph, if I may. Sorry, just for the language. The new paragraph 10. Requests the World Heritage Centre to consider as a priority. The assessment of the designed proposals and HIAs that will be submitted, delete as, to allow the state party to meet the deadlines for the international states. Yes, and we'd probably suggest the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies if you were comfortable with that.
I think it's reasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, I don't see any objections for approving the document in whole. Thank you very much. Approved. Now we return to the item.
Very good. Excellent.
Sundarbans. As you're all aware about, the special group was preparing the new draft decision on the Sundarbans file 7B.3. The working group did very serious job and prepared very serious document, which, as far as I understand, reflects the certain consensus between all the parties participating in the discussion. From this point of view, I would like to give the floor to rapporteur to give us the information about the text, and we will see how we can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The drafting group has proposed no amendments to the first 3 paragraphs. Paragraph 4 has got an addition at the end of the paragraph which reads, and further requests the state party to provide information on dredging activities. Then there's a new paragraph 5, or a replaced paragraph 5, which reads, welcomes the state party's actions such as the implementation of the integrated freshwater inflow management plan, the implementation of spatial monitoring and reporting tool, the development of the Tiger Action Plan and National Tiger Recovery Program, expansion of the wildlife sanctuaries and the adoption of the Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100 to protect and expand the Sundarbans. And then, as you can see, 5's been replaced. Paragraph 6 notes with great concern the likely environmental impacts of large-scale industrial projects on the party's OUV and urges the state party to take all necessary mitigation measures to address the concerns previously expressed by the committee and the 2016 Joint World Heritage Centre IUCN Reactive Monitoring Mission. Paragraph 7 expresses the concern that 154 industrial projects upstream of the project are currently active, and reiterates the committee's request in paragraph 4 of decision 41-7B25 and welcomes the commitment of the state party to continue the strategic environmental assessment requested by the same decision. Paragraph 8 requests that the state party implement the relevant recommendations of the SEA to all current and future projects and recalls the obligation of the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies detailed information including environmental impact assessments for development projects which have the potential to influence the OUV of the property before they commence in accordance with paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines before work commences or any irretrievable decision is made. 9, this paragraph has moved from below, but and that's just instead of also regrets will now be regrets because of that move. We can just move down now. 8, former 8 proposed for deletion entirely. Next paragraph requests the state party to invite a joint World Heritage Centre IUCN reactive monitoring mission to the property to assess the state of conservation, in particular the levels of threats to the hydrological and ecological dynamics which underpin the OUV of the property, and recommends that this mission takes place by the end of 2019. And the final paragraph reads, finally requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 February 2020 an updated report on the state of conservation of the property and the implementation above, for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 44th session in 2020, so that the committee can decide on whether or not to inscribe the property on the list of World Heritage in Danger. And I would just note at this stage that that last edition perhaps reflects the conversation of the drafting group, but is certainly not the standard language of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As far as I understand, the draft decision was submitted to all the participants of the discussion and the committee members, and they agreed to proceed with this draft. So if you don't have any principal objections to the text, we can... Hungary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We don't have any objection since we were members of the drafting group, so we agree with the draft decision as it is now. Just would like to highlight I would like to have two general observations. Firstly, we would like to highlight that the repeated postponement of the decision of listing properties on the World Heritage in Danger can undermine the authority of the World Heritage Committee. Secondly, we would like to highlight that in our view, the balance between heritage conservation and sustainable or less sustainable development should not be found, this balance should not be found by the World Heritage Committee, but by the state parties concerned. There are a number of tools available for each of us to reach this balance. Among them, the most important ones are apparently the different assessments which shall be prepared and applied for the development projects by the state parties prior to the commencing of any construction activity in order to allow the implementation of the necessary mitigation measures identified in the assessment documentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this comment. We will take note on that. I would like to thank all the participants of the group which were working together to create this document and for the consensus which was found. I understand that it was not an easy job because the document is very serious. And I highly appreciate, on behalf of all the committee members, their activities. Thank you very much, and let me approve the document. Thank you very much. Approved. Now, may I give the floor to the State Party of Bangladesh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I take this opportunity to thank all the members of the committee for having taken keen interest in the conservation of the heritage sites while remaining conscious of the development needs of Bangladesh. We hope to benefit from such future engagements. We are reassured by the overwhelming endorsement by the members of the committee for the power plants outside the buffer zone of Sundarbans forest, far away from the sites, helping to meet the energy needs of almost 50 million people of Bangladesh. We gratefully acknowledge the appreciation of the measures taken and the value the concerns of the committee for conservation of heritage sites and shall leave no stone unturned to achieve the goal. Let me end by quoting a line from our Nobel laureate poet Tagore, who's our national anthem, whose writing forms our national anthem. Quote, Mator Bodon Khali Modon Khani Molin Hole Ami Noyon Jole Bhashi. To translate, Mother, O Mother, Bangladesh, flood of tears swell at the slightest injury to you. In short, that is the abiding principles of our existence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The NGO, may I please introduce yourself?
I just had a technical problem here with my computer, so I'm hoping to open the file to make a statement immediately. World Heritage Watch. I'm sorry for this problem.
But we are finishing with the item. We will not give the floor on the other items.
Yes, yes, I understand that. This is concerning the
You
Sundarbans.
can make the statement on your own without looking to the computer. You know what is written there.
Okay, I can make a start. For us, the idea that coal-fired power plants could be a contribution to sustainable development of any country is in contradiction to established scientific knowledge. Coal-fired power plants emit CO2 gases, which are a key factor contributing to climate change and global warming, which in turn contribute significantly to sea level rise, and countries like Bangladesh will be the first and foremost to suffer from that. Sea level rise in Bangladesh will inundate large parts of the country, will uproot millions of people, and will wreak havoc for the economic, social, and environmental situation of the country. So by no means coal-fired power plants could be considered to be improving the situation of the country. Furthermore, countries which build or finance coal-fired power plants upstream from the Sundarbans are in direct violation of Article 6.3 of the Convention, which prohibits inflicting damage on the World Heritage Sites of other countries. And furthermore, countries which serve on the World Heritage Committee and finance such projects are in a deep conflict of interests. And we call upon the committee to establish protocol by which countries who have such conflict of interest should be excluded from the decision-making in such cases. We cannot accept that countries who have ratified the Paris Agreement and have committed to limit the rise of global warming will, in international law, in other conventions, approve projects which are in direct contradiction to the Paris Agreement.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will take note for that. Now, we are moving to the next question, next file. I would like to invite Mrs. Sidorenko from the Europe and North America Unit on the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS to present the reports on the state of conservation of the cultural properties located in the region and opened for discussion. You have the floor, Mrs. Sidorenko, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le rapport sur l'état de conservation du bien ancienne cité de Nessebar, Bulgarie, se trouve dans le document 7B à la page 128 en anglais et à la page 176 en français. Le rapport présente les facteurs menaçant le bien qui se résument de manière suivante. Absence de plan de gestion et de conservation, pression du développement urbain, absence du plan de développement détaillé du bien et de sa zone tampon et de la révision du plan directeur du développement général, absence de la gouvernance claire et la gestion du bien basée sur sa valeur universelle exceptionnelle, construction illégale. Le rapport note le constat de la mission de suivi réactif conjointe Centre du patrimoine mondial UNESCO, ICOMOS d'octobre 2018 que l'état de conservation du bien est impacté par des facteurs négatifs représentant à la fois un péril prouvé et potentiel pour la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du bien. Les attributs de la valeur universelle exceptionnelle étaient détériorés et, dans certains cas, irrémédiablement dégradés. Les progrès accomplis par l'État partie sont reconnus, mais ne suffisent pas à contrer les menaces qui pèsent sur l'intégrité, l'authenticité et la valeur universelle exceptionnelle. Comme le confirment les observations de la mission de 2018, c'est pourquoi, conformément au paragraphe 179 des orientations, le bien est proposé pour l'inscription sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril. Le rapport de mission a été envoyé à l'État partie le 14 mars 2019. Il a été demandé à l'État partie de transmettre au Centre du patrimoine mondial les éventuelles erreurs factuelles relevées. Le 14 mai 2019, le Centre a reçu les commentaires émanant de l'État partie ainsi que des erreurs factuelles relevées. Le 7 juin 2019, une réunion entre le directeur du Centre du patrimoine mondial et le ministre de la Culture de la Bulgarie s'est tenue à l'UNESCO. Le 14 juin 2019, le rapport de mission avec des corrections mineures a été transmis à l'État partie. Il a été demandé à l'État partie de soumettre des informations détaillées quant aux mesures mises en œuvre ou programmées en réponse aux décisions précédentes du comité et aux recommandations de la mission. En réponse à cette demande, le 26 juin dernier, l'État partie a soumis au Centre du patrimoine mondial et à l'ICOMOS les informations demandées. Avec votre permission, Monsieur le Président, l'ICOMOS présentera les résultats de l'évaluation technique des informations reçues de la part de l'État partie. Le projet de décision vous est soumis à la page 178 en anglais et à la page 185 en français. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. ICOMOS, you are welcome.
Thank you, Chair. ICOMOS and ICROM acknowledge that over recent years there have been some welcome improvements to the management and conservation of the property. However, key steps which have been identified in mission reports from 2012, 2015, 2017 and most recently 2018 are yet to be addressed. They include particularly the updated Conservation Management Plan, the elaboration of the detailed development plan for the property and its buffer zone, revision of the General Development Master Plan and convening an interministerial working group to ensure clear governance and management of the property based on its outstanding universal value. The October 2018 Joint World Heritage Centre ICOMOS Reactive Monitoring Mission, which undertook a thorough evaluation of the property, found that the attributes of outstanding universal value of the property are deteriorated and in some instances irredeemably spoiled, in particular that tangible traces of numerous civilisations are hardly discernible in the urban environment. Most of the typical townhouses which testify to the supreme mastery of the architecture of the Balkans as well as the East Mediterranean region have been altered or transformed. The medieval churches no longer dominate the urban ensemble and the spirituality of the town that was a remarkable spiritual hearth of Christian culture is lost. Overall, the urban fabric of high quality has lost its coherence and its historic appeal owing to the great number of minor alterations combined with the major transformation of the coast. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, these conclusions strike at the heart of the reasons for which the property was inscribed on the World Heritage List. The state of conservation of the property is thereby impacted by negative factors which represent both ascertained and potential threats. Uneven involvement and commitment from national and local administrations and stakeholders has prevented a coherent and effective response to the negative factors affecting the property. Nessebar requires a shared, clear vision centred on the preservation and promotion of its outstanding universal value. ICOMOS and ICROM consider that the circumstances of this property mean that in-danger listing would offer a much-needed opportunity to deploy a structured framework of agreed corrective measures and thereby to support the state party in addressing significant and long-standing threats to the property's outstanding universal value. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we open the floor for the intervention. Australia, then Brazil, please.
Thank you, Chair. Australia's had some discussions with the State Party of Bulgaria during this meeting in relation to the issue of large ships and cruise terminals that were expressed as a major concern in the ICOMOS report that we have with the draft recommendation. It suggests that our discussions with the State Party suggest that this may not be a current threat to the property, and we'd like to ask the State Party to provide some clarification and update us on the situation in Nessebar in relation to large ships docking at the site. Thank you.
It's clear. Now, Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like, first of all, to thank the advisory bodies for their very important report. And I would comment that we have recently had the pleasure of witnessing some successful cases of sites in different regions removed from the list of the World Heritage in Danger. Those were very good examples of the efforts made by the state parties to accomplish the recommendations of the advisory bodies in order to reaffirm the OUV of their properties. However, we believe that the countries need sufficient time to comply with the requirements by the advisory bodies after the visit of a technical mission to the site. In the case of the site we are now analyzing, as far as we are informed, a mission visited the site in October 2018 and presented its report in March 2019, to which the state party could respond only in May this year, 2 months before the 43rd meeting of the World Heritage Committee. In these circumstances, we believe that the state party should have more time to be able to comply with all the requirements made by the technical missions, which is the reason why we are proposing an amendment to the draft decision with the support of Kuwait, Cuba, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are informed that the conservation and management plan is underway, that a general and detailed development plan has been revised with the supervision of the Ministry of the Environment and Water. With regard to the movement of residents, visitors, goods, and vessels involving the ancient city of Nessebar, among other points that might be of interest to this committee, I am sure that the Bulgarian delegation present to this meeting would be pleased to provide additional clarifications. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to echo what my dear colleague, the delegate from Brazil. Same thing, we submitted a draft amendment for us, several reasons. Let me go straight to them. Let's first of all look at this city. It's went through several political changes since 1990. So after, changing from the public state-owned to the private, and a lot of the comment from the advisory board, some of the, about 44 units that have been there, there have been some addition to them. And out of those, with the recent government and recent commitment for the last couple of years, when we saw major change trying to preserve the city, 50% of those units, they've been retained to their original status, and the rest 50% of them, they are still in the court. We have to put in mind, once we try to retain certain buildings or places, they are owned by private people. It's not as easy when it's owned by the government, where you can change them by certain legislation. There is people living in there. You have to take the right measures, the correct measures, and keeping the integrity of the people. But on the ground, we see there is a major changes. There is with the new for the last 2 years, and to me is we see movement. So why we obstruct that movement and put it in the endangered list? Let's help that movement. The state party admitted that several years ago there is issues. They're trying to correct it from the political and from the legislation and also on the ground. And I would like also to take the floor later on after we hear about the state party regarding in the advisory report when they say cruise ship, because the definition of cruise ship is you're talking about ships that can hold between 1,000 to 5,000. That's what we see in Venice, in major city. But looking at the report and the pictures, that city, I highly doubt can hold cruise ships as was described in the advisory board. And again, let me say the definition of cruise ships, it can take up to 5,000 passengers per trip. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to thank the advisory body on its report on the state of conservation of the ancient city of Nessebar of Bulgaria. Indonesia understands the concern of the adverse impact that might be caused by some of the development taking place in the property. Indonesia takes note that the state party has already put some effort to protect the integrity, authenticity, and the OUV of the property, as what is also acknowledged on the report of the advisory body. Indonesia recognizes the state party commitment to the protection of the property OUV, despite the need of continuous development, which is imperative for almost all countries. The state party's commitment is also evident in its decision to have a joint mission conducted under two UNESCO conventions, the Convention for the World Heritage Protection and the Convention for the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage. Mr. Chair, to accomplish all the key factors recommended by the advisory body are not easy tasks in relatively very short span of time. We have been informed that the state party has put its concern on some of the information and conclusion in the advisory body report, which are not in accord with the real condition. Therefore, Indonesia would like to request Mr. Chairman to allow the advisory body and the state party to give more clarification on this disagreement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. We will do it later. Hungary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hungary would like to pick up only one point from the evaluation. As far as we know, the sea is here very shallow, and because of the archaeological remains, it may not be changed and deepened. It means that no bigger ship can come near to the property. Hungary thinks there is no danger in this aspect, but of course proposes to give the floor to the state party to get a clear picture and clear statement in this aspect. Otherwise, Hungary supports the proposal of Australia and the other state parties for amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord remercier le Centre du patrimoine mondial et ICOMOS sur l'ensemble des éléments d'information qui nous ont été présentés. Je crois que cela est fort utile pour notre étude de ce cas. Ce qui est certain, c'est que la situation mérite l'attention de ce comité quant à l'état de protection et de conservation de ce site. Beaucoup de choses ont été dites. Et la Tunisie rejoint la demande qui a été présentée par l'Australie pour que l'on écoute l'État partie apporter ces clarifications, d'autant plus qu'il y a, semble-t-il, quelques incertitudes sur la véracité de quelques éléments qui ont émaillé le rapport. Je ne reviendrai pas sur la question du port, mais je crois que cela mérite un éclaircissement. En tout état de cause, nous rejoignons la demande d'amendement, notamment en ce qu'elle invite l'État partie à demander une mission élargie, mixte de consultation du Centre du patrimoine et d'ICOMOS afin d'évaluer l'état de conservation actuel au vu des éléments dont nous disposons et des éclaircissements qui nous seront donnés par l'État partie. Donc, nous souhaiterions les écouter sur ce point. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, my delegation would like to thank the advisory body for their report. We share some of the concerns raised in this report, indeed. But at the same time, we need to acknowledge that in 2018 reactive monitoring mission mentioned in the report that the state party has developed legal instruments for the conservation of the heritage in general, with special concern for the World Heritage properties. And the new law contains the guidelines and regulations that have immediate repercussions on inappropriate practices. Restoration of church is ongoing and the results are visible. According to the State Party report, the state assures that high priority measures have been taken to preserve the OUV of the ancient city of Nessebar. On the basis of these measures taken by the State Party, work is being carried out on finalizing and adopting the following documents: Conservation Master Plan, General Development Master Plan. Within 1 month, it will be submitted by the municipality of Nessebar for coordination with the Ministry of Culture. And after the completion of the environmental impact assessment, also with the Ministry of Environment and Waters. But at the same time, I would like to join the previous speakers in posing the question to the State Party to respond to those issues that reflected in the report, and also given the fact that the additional information provided by the State Party is not reflected in this, given the shortage of time, we would be very happy to listen from the State Party on those issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think now it's turn to give the floor to the State Party. As far as I know, Bulgarian minister is here. Are you ready?
Yes, thank you,
welcome,
Mr. Chair.
welcome.
I'll speak on behalf of the Bulgarian delegation. First of all, Mr. Chair, let me congratulate Azerbaijan on the successful hosting of this session of the World Heritage Committee, and let me wish success on behalf of the Bulgarian delegation to all participants. We also would like, in the beginning, to stress our high appreciation to this opportunity and to this very constructive approach that was adopted by the committee members, allowing us to express the view of the Bulgarian State Party on this important for us and for the World Heritage item. Mr. Chair, in the period 2017-2018, in only 2 years, the ancient city of Nessebar received two missions. One joint advisory mission of the Convention for Underwater Archaeology and ICOMOS, and the joint reactive monitoring mission of the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS. The reports from these two missions were received by Bulgaria, as it was mentioned in the presentation earlier, in the beginning of 2018 and in March 2019. Since then, the Bulgarian State Party has implemented some crucial measures, including legislative changes to guarantee the overall preservation of the site. In the current month of June, the Bulgarian Parliament is expected to approve amendments of the Cultural Heritage Act that will guarantee the connection and the interaction between the conservation and management plan that is in process of being finalized and the other planning documents, namely the general development, urban planning, and the detailed development planning. Regarding the current state of conservation of the outstanding universal value of the site during that period, we have to stress here that a full monitoring report by the Ministry of Culture was conducted on each individual monument within the property. On the basis of this monitoring report, the conservation and the management plan of the site is being finalized. At the same time, the municipality of Nessebar is in process of updating the general urban plan and the detailed urban plan of the property in order to be submitted for examination and approval within the next months. The municipality of Nessebar continues to work on the development on projects for conservation and restoration of several individual monuments, public spaces, and infrastructure within the property. In the end of 2017, as an example of the good cooperation between the Bulgarian State Party and ICOMOS, we would like to note here that thanks to this joint effort and this joint exercise, an educational program on heritage impact assessment was conducted, namely in December, on the fishing port of the city. The project and the assessment, the heritage impact assessment, were after that submitted to ICOMOS, and they were positively examined by the advisory body. Mr. Chair, finally, allow me to inform the distinguished members of the committee and the audience about some facts regarding the port of Nessebar. The city of Nessebar has only one passenger terminal and no commercial ports at all. Based on the information from the Maritime Executive Agency of the Republic of Bulgaria, there are only 3 berths that are allowed in the port of Nessebar. The depth of the water varies from 4.1 meter to 7 meter, and the length of the quays are between 75 and 160 meters. More than one ship at a time has not moored at the port, even in the strongest tourist year for Nessebar, which was 2013, with a daily capacity of passengers of about 500 people, which is many times less than in other similar locations and is an indication of the size of the ships, namely relatively small passenger cruising ships that can enter the port. For the entire 2016, only 4 ships had moored in the port with a total of 761 passengers. In 2017, only 1 ship with 102 passengers, and in the last 2 years, 2018 and 19, there were none any cruising ship moored in Nessebar port. We would like to remind also that Nessebar has a traditional portuary function of the peninsula from antiquity to the present day.
Sorry, Minister, may I ask?
Thank you, Mr.
The last
Chair.
minute, please. Last half
I
minute.
just will conclude, and I would like to say finally that this port exists there in its, from the 60s of the last century, and since then, from the 60s, it has not been neither expanded, neither deepened. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will take note of your information. I think that committee members will get the sufficient information from your intervention. So now, as far I don't see any comments, ICOMOS wants, please.
Thank you, Chair. If I may, I think it would be helpful for the committee if I were to respond to some of the interventions, and I particularly thank the Honourable Minister from Bulgaria for raising a number of issues. Can I report it is absolutely correct that there were missions undertaken in 2017 and 2018. The 2017 mission had a particular focus on capacity building and training, and, as has been mentioned, on underwater archaeology. It was the 2018 mission that undertook the thorough analysis of the urban fabric, and there are some inconsistencies between the two reports. It is the 2018 one that paints a more concerning picture. It is also the 2018 report that did the detailed work for the evaluation, and I think it is already clear in the information before the committee, with acknowledgement of the need for removal of 45 illegal construction works, and that being only half of the work that's required, that there is a problem with the incremental degradation of the urban fabric of the city. It was the 2018 report that has determined that the property's outstanding universal value is subject to ascertained and potential threats. And I would emphasise that while that report does raise concerns about the foreshore and the port area, the foreshore, the port area and the cruise ships were not the reason that the mission report concluded that there were these fundamental threats. With respect, Chair and committee members, to the tasks to be completed, I do note the intervention from the Honourable Delegate from Brazil, but I point out that the 2018 report was evaluating the condition of the property and making further recommendations. The tasks that have not been fulfilled date from the missions in 2012 and 2015. There has been an opportunity. There is also an acknowledgement of the considerable work that the state party has done, but there are some significant tasks to be completed, some of which have been mentioned, but in the short term, certainly also including a moratorium on new changes to the property, even if they are done in accordance with old permits, so that the work of removing inappropriate intrusions doesn't have to be expanded. the need to allocate the financial and human resources for implementation of the Conservation Management Plan and the General Development Plan, the monitoring and control of the open spaces of the ancient city, development of guidelines for new design, preparation of a technical manual for conservation, and assistance for homeowners, amongst other things. The Honourable Member for Tunisia suggested that it may be helpful to have a larger mission report. It is the view of the advisory bodies at this point that this is not necessary. There has just been a very thorough report done in 2018. There has indeed been dialogue subsequent to that report with the representatives of the state party, and what is required at the moment is not further missions, although ICROM and ICOMOS stand ready to support through dialogue and through capacity building as necessary. What is required now is implementation of a long-standing list of actions that are needed to conserve the outstanding universal value of this extraordinary property. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for this explanation. Now, we, as far as I understand, have two different drafts, but the sense of these two drafts consists that I'd better give the floor to the rapporteur. You'll explain. Australia, please.
Chair, just to clarify, yes, there are two different amendments proposed. The key difference between the Australian and other countries and Brazil and the other countries, the two different lots of amendments, is that Australia has left in or not asked for deletion paragraphs 5 and 7 until we heard from the state party in relation to the cruise ships and the port issues. Australia is quite happy to go with the amendments for those paragraphs proposed by Brazil and the other countries, and there are very little differences between the two amendments otherwise.
Thank you very much. That's what I wasn't to tell. That's why I'm giving floor to rapporteur to finalise the text provided.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With those amendments, I think we can just agree as we go along with these very minor changes from both parties. The third paragraph, the proposal is to remove the word some in terms of progress. The fourth paragraph would read, notes with great concern that the 2018 reactive monitoring mission found that the attributes of outstanding universal value of the property are deteriorated. And then there's a choice here between just finishing the sentence there or saying, and in some instances spoiled. A very minor change. Paragraph 5, I think we are now agreed that, or Australia is comfortable with the removal of, as Brazil has proposed, to finish the sentence after, and to remove the substantial threats to the OUV of the property, full stop or semicolon. Paragraph 6 urges the state party to devise a strategy for the future of Nessebar based on sustainable, etc. Again, a very minor amendment to remove the word different. Paragraph 7 is now agreed to be, I believe both amendments are consistent to completely delete that paragraph. Oh no, is that the right paragraph? Is that right? Sorry, can I just confirm that that former paragraph 6 is the one that Australia is now comfortable to delete? Beautiful, thank you. So we'll just delete that one and the next one, so there we are. Paragraph now 8 strongly requests the state party to, a minor suggestion there from Australia. Part 8A remains the same. 8B would read, finalise, adopt and implement the Conservation Management Plan, which incorporates an updated Sustainable Tourism Management Plan, Detailed Development Plan and General Development Master Plan, including guidelines for urban design based on the OUV of the property, as well as continue enforcing the existing protection regimes. C would read, further develop the overall sustainable mobility program to ensure the smooth circulation of residents, visitors and goods within the property and between the mainland and the property. A new D, which would read, continue to allocate financial and human resources required for effective implementation of the updated Conservation Management Plan and updated General Development Master Plan. And E, again, another minor change, continue to implement from Australia and other countries, and then other countries proposing to remove fully all of the recommendations. Paragraph 9, urges the state party, here we have urges the state party to continue to undertake research in anticipation of a future minor boundary modification request in accordance with paragraphs 163 and 164 of the operational guidelines to include all archaeological remains of the ancient town. That's a proposed addition. Paragraph 10, we have a choice here also. So Australia and other countries are proposing also request the state party to invite ICOMOS advisory mission to the property to provide advice in relation to A, the further development of the sustainable tourism plan for the property, and B, the conservation of the property as a living urban landscape. I would just suggest here that, again, we are not able to request the state party to invite a mission, but that perhaps we could strongly recommend, and that would also be suggested for the other countries' proposal in relation to the mission, which is the Brazil one, which would be also strongly recommends instead of requesting the state party to invite an enlarged Joint World Heritage Centre ICOMOS advisory mission to the property to assess its state of conservation and ascertain the progress made by the state party. Just in terms of language here, if we're going to use the word enlarged, it needs to be in reference to something else. We could just say large, or it needs to be larger than something, and I'm not really sure whether just large would suit. I'm looking at Brazil here as to whether we could just invite a large advisory mission, or it needs to be larger than something else. We might just leave that for the moment. Perhaps the countries could consider what they mean by that. And then paragraph 9, that's very easy, that's all gone. And then the final paragraph, again, some alternatives. Requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 February 2021 an updated report on the state of conservation of the property, and submit to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies the Conservation Management Plan, Detailed Development Plan and General Development Master Plan for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 45th session in 2021, with a view to considering, in the absence of substantial progress, the possible inscription of the property on the list of the World Heritage in danger. The alternative from Brazil and other countries would be in 2021, with a view to determining whether any threat to the property constitutes an ascertained potential danger to its OUV and would warrant its potential inscription on the list of World Heritage in danger. So again, quite similar. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I would like to propose to start with the first paragraph and go one by one to finalize the approval of the document. So number 1, no changes. Number 2, no changes. Number 3, minor changes. I think there is no objections on that. Number 4, mission found that right outside. So, Brazil, please.
Yes, the Brazilian delegation is we agreed to the proposal suggested by Australia to strike out the last part of the paragraph. So that would be fine for us.
Thank you very much. So we approve the version proposed by Australia, Hungary, and Norway. Thank you. Number 5. No objections? Don't see any. Number 6. One word is taken out. I think no objections. Number 7. We have common understanding of this deletion? Thank you. All 7 also deleted. Number 8. Can we see it in whole? C also. So A, B, C, we approve like proposed. Thank you. Number D, there is no contradiction between the countries and the text can be accepted like that. Thank you. Number 9, please. We can approve it. No? Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. In our amendments that we submitted, I think that we had, there's a word missing from the text up there, which was to include all underwater archaeological remains of the ancient town.
In which paragraph?
In paragraph 9.
9.
The final part of the paragraph, all underwater archaeological remains.
Fine. No objections? I don't see any. Number 10. So I'm waiting for the consensus in this position. Australia, please.
Just to clarify our amendments, we wanted to give very clear directions about what an advisory mission would be advising on. We're very happy to use the text from Brazil below as long as the points A and B about the specificity of the advisory mission are retained in there. Thank you.
Brazil? Oh, sorry, Brazil.
We thank the Australian delegation and would be glad to go along with their suggestion to include those 2 guidelines for the mission.
Thank you. No objections? So please, Rapporteur, make your.
So I'm just going to confirm paragraph 10 would read, strongly recommend the state party to invite ICOMOS advisory mission to the property to provide advice in relation to A, the further development of the sustainable tourism plan for the property, B, the conservation of the property as a living urban landscape. And then remove the enlarged bit.
You must delete the alternative to see clearly. Fine. Thank you. So, number 10, no objections. Thank you. Number 9, old 9, we delete. 11, minor changes, but there is also option. Please, I'm waiting for your comments. Australia, please.
We included those quite specific documents in the text just to give us something for the future World Heritage Committee to measure against in progress rather than just the more simple statement of saying progress, conservation, objectives, whatever. But we wanted to include those specific documents.
Other options? Brazil, please.
We also raise no opposition to the Australian amendment in this point.
Thank you very much. So we please delete. Thank you. And 11 approved in this version. Next. That is the final version, yes. So, thank you. So we approve the draft decision in full. Thank you very much. As far as I know, the state party wanted to say something. Bulgarian minister, please, you are welcome for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Mr. Chair, honorable members of the committee and the advisory bodies, ladies and gentlemen. At first, I would like to thank all the members of the Honorable Committee for the opportunity to report within the current 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee. Conservation and promotion of cultural heritage is one of the main political priorities of the Bulgarian government. Our country is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of cultural heritage, with 40,000 cultural sites. We are proud to announce that 7 of them are part of the World Cultural Heritage List of UNESCO. It's a great recognition for us and an important motivation to pursue our efforts in protecting them. A proof of it is that every year the government increases the national financing for conservation of our heritage. Our country participates actively as well in the work of various international organizations, including UNESCO and the Council of Europe. Cultural heritage was one of the main priorities of the Bulgarian presidency of the Council in the first part of 2018. In the prepared and accepted conclusions, Bulgaria proposed to bring the cultural heritage in the front for the public policies of the European Union. In this document, a number of measures are recommended to be taken by the Member States, the European Commission, and in close cooperation with UNESCO and the other international organizations. Last but not least, the conclusions were in the heart of the European Commission's development of a dedicated cultural heritage action plan, which is already a fact and is about to be implemented. Ladies and gentlemen, the ancient city of Nessebar and the protection of its outstanding universal value has an important role in the agenda of our government. We're working closely with the municipality and all the stakeholders for elaboration and finalization of the conservation management plan, the general spatial plan, and a detailed spatial plan of the property. Nessebar is an archaeological reserve, but also a living city, which makes its management more complex and requires decisions that will help its protecting the values. These decisions should guarantee the citizens' rights and the sustainable development of Nessebar. I cannot help but thank for the extremely important partnership role of the municipality of Nessebar and to all stakeholders, especially in our joint efforts to engage citizens in the process of preservation. At last, please allow me to extend my utmost gratitude to the member states of the committee, the World Heritage Center, the ICOMOS and other organizations for the crucial support to our efforts and contribute to a significant expansion of our capacity of the preservation of the ancient city of Nessebar. I hope that our joint and effective work will continue in the future, and I assure you that we'll make every effort to comply with your recommendations and to preserve the ancient city of Nessebar as one of the most remarkable achievements of the human civilization. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will now invite Mrs. Anatole Gabriel to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Please, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La liste des rapports de l'état de conservation qui est proposée au comité pour adoption sans discussion est la suivante. Le centre historique de Berat et Girokostra en Albanie. Centre historique de la ville de Salzbourg, Autriche. Paris, rive de la Seine, France. Vallée du Haut-Rhin moyen, Allemagne. Budapest avec les rives du Danube, le quartier du château de Bouda et l'avenue Andrassy, Hongrie. Zone archéologique de Pompéi, Herculanum et Torre Annunziata, Italie. Venise et sa lagune, Italie. Contrées naturelles et culturo-historiques de Kotor, Monténégro. Ensemble culturel et historique des îles Solovki, Fédération de Russie. Kijipogost, Fédération de Russie. Paysage culturel de la forteresse de Diyarbakir et des jardins de Elvezel, Elzel, Turquie, Éphèse, Turquie, Kiev, cathédrale Sainte-Sophie et ensemble des bâtiments monastiques et l'or de Kiev et Petchersk, Ukraine, paysage minier des Cornouailles et de l'ouest de Devon, Royaume-Uni de Grande-Bretagne et d'Irlande du Nord, palais de Westminster et abbaye de Westminster incluant l'église Sainte-Marguerite, Royaume-Uni de Grande-Bretagne et d'Irlande du Nord, Stonehenge, Avebury et sites associés, Royaume-Uni de Grande-Bretagne et d'Irlande du Nord. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments? And I don't think it's open. So I think if there are no objections from the Committee on this State of Conservation report, I declare the decision read adopted. Thank you. I would now like to give the floor to observers who have asked to speak. So the Vatican has the floor. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup de me donner la parole. Le pape François, en particulier, et le Saint-Siège en général, souhaitent que la restauration et la reconstruction de la cathédrale, mais aussi les biens d'intérêt religieux protégés par l'UNESCO, impliquent la reconstitution d'origine d'une œuvre, retrouvant le fait générateur qui a en créé la significance. C'est une priorité de prendre en compte les besoins de culte et les pratiques qui y sont liés et qui doivent continuer à y exercer. Il est crucial de sauvegarder cette significance. À la cathédrale sont annexes et interdépendants d'une part la vie religieuse et les formes dans lesquelles elle s'exprime, et d'autre part le culte et les structures qui la regardent. Les éléments qui seront reconstruits doivent répondre à la finalité pour laquelle le bâtiment fut érigé. En effet, la forme conserve et transmet sa beauté seulement si elle adhère à la finalité de manière de conserver la lisibilité de son identité. L'homme ne se limite pas à vivre sur la terre, il l'habite poétiquement. Non pas tant parce qu'il est un rêveur, mais parce qu'il est à travers la poésie, c'est-à-dire la construction créative. Il transforme un espace en un lieu. Pour la communauté des chrétiens qui veulent venir à vivre la cathédrale, il est nécessaire de donner non seulement un bien culturel, mais aussi un lieu où il est possible de faire une expérience de significance et de la même foi qui a créé l'édifice. Cesare Brandi, théoricien de la restauration, dit qu'un restaurateur doit mettre en œuvre toutes les procédures qui assurent et conservent l'œuvre sans altération et sans ajout. Le Saint-Siège souhaite que la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel, y compris sa fondamentale dimension religieuse, est une condition incontournable de sa valorisation. Merci de votre accueil.
Thank you very much. We have the information that the delegation of the United Kingdom and Great Britain indicated that it will want to take the floor. Are you there? If yes, if present, please take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As this is the first time the UK has taken the floor, I want to express our profound thanks to the Minister and the authorities of Azerbaijan for their generous hospitality in hosting this meeting and the accompanying programme of cultural events. The Cornish Mining World Heritage Site Steering Group and the State Party have undertaken comprehensive work to address all the previous committee decisions relating to this site and the recommendations of the advisory missions. We believe the protection of the OUV of the site has been strengthened as a result of these actions, including the use of planning performance agreements to extend decision-making timescales, to allow the World Heritage Centre and advisory bodies more time to comment, the adoption of a supplementary planning document, and the creation of a World Heritage Site Planning Advice Officer post within the site management team. Several proposals that had the potential to harm OUV have been refused in recent years, as reported to the World Heritage Centre. We believe these demonstrate the effectiveness of these new procedures. The State Party wishes to thank the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies for their ongoing engagement on developments where the committee has expressed past concern and requested involvement. This has resulted in projects which protect the OUV of the site while strengthening the role of heritage in the life of the community. The State Party is concerned that the tone and content of the report is not reflective of this constructive dialogue between the State Party, the local planning authority, UNESCO and the advisory bodies. I want to place on record the view of the United Kingdom Government that this is indeed a well-managed and comprehensively protected site. Finally, there are several factual inaccuracies and omissions in the report which could have been addressed had the report been shared with the State Party prior to its publication. The views expressed in the report came as a surprise to us when we first saw them just 3 weeks ago. The publication of these views without prior reference to us is a matter of concern and regret to my government. Therefore, we wish to put on record our disagreement with the decision as now adopted and request that this statement informs future committee decisions so that they more accurately reflect the positive work which has been accomplished as a result of regular dialogue and exchange. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would pass the floor now to Europa Nostra, who has requested to speak. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of our large movement of heritage NGOs across Europe, including Italy, Europa Nostra deeply regrets that the World Heritage Committee has decided to adopt its decision with regard to Venice and its lagoon without even opening the discussion. As you all know, threats to Venice and its lagoon are numerous. They're not decreasing, but increasing with an ever-growing pressure of tourism and the effects of climate change. However, given the limited speaking time, Europa Nostra wishes to concentrate on the serious threats caused by cruisers. Only 1 month ago, we witnessed an alarming accident caused by the persistent traffic of the giant cruisers in the San Marco Basin and the Giudecca Canal. Miraculously, only 5 people were wounded and nobody died. But this accident has once again brought to the fore the considerable threat and even a security risk which cruise ships pose to Venice, its inhabitants and visitors. Apart from the threat to the cultural heritage of Venice, the cruise ships bring huge environmental threats to the fragile ecosystem and the morphology of the lagoon. This includes the cruisers' considerable contribution to air and water pollution, which causes serious health risks to people, while also having a negative impact on historical monuments. And last but not least, nobody can deny that they cause an unacceptable visual pollution. For all these reasons, we deplore that the committee's decision does not refer to this accident and its implications. We also deplore that this committee has decided to change its decision adopted in 2016 to prohibit the largest ships and tankers to enter the lagoon. Regrettably, the committee has today endorsed a route that will keep the cruisers within the lagoon, and this route is promoted by the City of Venice and with the support of the cruise industry. I'm sure you will all agree that the role of UNESCO is to preserve world heritage and not to give its support to the cruise industry. The committee should also not give its blessing for a plan which the State Party has not prepared the requested environmental and heritage impact assessments at a time when the various alternatives, including the proposal of rerouting the cruisers outside of the lagoon, are still under discussion by the government of the State Party. Europa Nostra therefore believes that there must be a way that this World Heritage Committee avoids making such a grave mistake by modifying the related paragraph of its decision. For all these and many other reasons, let me reiterate the firm position of Europa Nostra that the time has come for Venice and its lagoon to be inscribed on the World Heritage List in danger. Not to punish the State Party, but rather to help and support it to take the right measures to preserve Venice and its lagoon for present and future generations. We are fully confident that with the combined efforts of the State Party, UNESCO, and all relevant stakeholders, as well as with the possible support of the European Union, this can be achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We would now like to hear an NGO that has requested the floor. Please, you have the floor. Please take the floor. Thank you.
Your Excellency, as chairperson of the Cornwall and West Devon Mining Landscape World Heritage Site Steering Group, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address your committee. Es is a site which is cared for by its community. It is a site where people are passionate about their cultural heritage, a site which has benefited from heritage-led regeneration, a site where residents have benefited from sustainable tourism, a site which benefits from a dedicated and passionate team caring for it, a site where many different agencies, NGOs, local and state government come together to work in the best interests of World Heritage Site status. The report has several factual inaccuracies and key omissions which could have been addressed easily had the report been shared with the State Party and Site Steering Group prior to its publication. The release of this report in the public domain without reference to these bodies is of great concern. As the State Party has put on record, the protection and management regime that is now in place is robust and protects the attributes of outstanding universal value, individually and collectively, and protects the authenticity and integrity of the site. The adoption by the State Party and local partners of the recommendations of the 2015 Advisory Mission and the 2017 World Heritage Committee decision has improved the state of conservation of the property and has strengthened the measures that are in place for the site's long-term protection and management. The enhanced protection of the site requested by the World Heritage Committee is fully operational. The Partnership Board, residents, NGOs, local government and the State Party are strongly of the view that the World Heritage Site is not at risk. There should be no recommendation today for the Cornish Mining Landscape World Heritage Site to come back in front of the next World Heritage Committee. I wish to put on record our disagreement with the decision as drafted and now adopted. I request that this speech is appended to the minutes of this meeting as a matter of public record. Thank you. Miraz.
Thank you very much. I pass the floor now to the other NGO that has requested to speak. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have comments on three different sites, the Upper Middle Rhine Valley, the Venice and the Lagoon, and Stonehenge. So I request your permission to use altogether 6 minutes. Concerning the Upper Middle Rhine Valley, I speak on behalf of the Citizens Initiative Rhine Passages. We have a few remarks regarding the draft decision. Concerning a permanent Rhine crossing, we ask the committee to urge the State Party of Germany to undertake through the state of Rhineland-Palatinate the following measures before planning a permanent river crossing: to adopt a mobility concept for all types of road users in the Middle Rhine Valley, including an evaluation of additional traffic due to the termination of the ferry service. Second, to review all previous expert opinions on road traffic, including the bridge design competition, based on applicable legal regulations and credible statistics. Three, to formally acknowledge the ferries as an essential part of the outstanding universal value of the cultural landscape of the Upper Middle Rhine Valley. And four, to ensure that no major highway and bridge are constructed through the Middle Rhine Valley. Concerning rail-related noise levels, the property needs immediate measures to be taken. We ask for limiting the speed of trains. Noisy freight trains should not run at all during the night, and dangerous goods must be completely banned from the valley. In the long run, freight transport must be rerouted away from the narrow Rhine Rift Valley. Concerning already implemented changes, the example of the Koblenz funicular shows that promises of temporary installation, which have been made by the German State Party, cannot be relied on. The remodeling of the Lorelei open-air theater has destroyed the visual integrity in the heart of the World Heritage Area. It is now widely visible in the valley. This will not be changed by replanting the trees, which will not reach the necessary height in order to hide that roof. Future projects, such as the rooftop illumination called the Crystal, will do the same. They will be above the height of the roof of the trees. We ask UNESCO to ensure that no further ground will be made available for the construction of buildings in the landscape, such as the planned hotels on the Lorelei Rock and at the Günderode House in Oberwesel, and that any further intervention be made only with full respect of nature conservation regulations. Thank you for your attention. Concerning Venice and its lagoon, I'm reading a statement by Mr. Franco Migliorini. UNESCO has delayed the judgment on Venice to 2020. We observe that UNESCO has received incorrect information on the alternative route inside the lagoon, which requires millions of cubic meters digging, stone banks, and it is not grounded on a technical project. We are astonished by the committee's change of views from 2015 request. In particular, among the projects located outside the lagoon, only one is viable, but it was never been taken into due account by the competent authorities. The integrity of Venice depends on the integrity of the lagoon. No Venice without its lagoon, UNESCO itself has stated. About the presented project of tourism governance in Venice, no measure has been adopted to support the residents. No action against the present regime of short-term tourist rentals has been taken. Systematic exemptions to the claimed block of tourist accommodation have been introduced. Additionally, a 10,000 low-cost bed hotel complex is under construction around the Mestre rail station for day trippers, ticket exempt. Its realization at the border of the buffer zone was never mentioned to UNESCO by the Italian state party. The morphological plan of the lagoon has been rejected in 2018 by the Ministry for Environment, requiring a complete overhaul related to the effect of cruise ships and MOSE on the lagoon. Due to the expected MOSE's frequent closures, the only solution will be the port outside the lagoon. The connection between MOSE, if it will work, climate change, cruise port is completely missing in the Italian response.
Can you please wrap up as soon as you can?
Yes,
Thank you very much.
I'm closing in a few seconds.
Thank you.
All changes in the heritage site must be subjected to HIAs and SEAs, or at least to their national equivalents. This commitment was never mentioned in the Italian response. This so much about Venice. Concerning the Stonehenge Alliance, an alliance of United Kingdom conservation, heritage, and environmental organizations, is pleased to support the World Heritage Center's report and the draft decision. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your report and for your understanding. We now move ahead to the evaluation of culture in the Latin American and Caribbean with the discussion of the historic quarter of the seaport city of Valparaiso, Chile. For this property, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of Brazil, which requested the State of Conservation report on the historic quarter of the seaport city of Valparaiso in Chile to be open for discussion, to present to the committee the reason why it made such a request. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, boss. Madam Chairman, this is a very small amendment. Brazil has asked this draft decision to be discussed at the request of the state party with regard to heritage impact assessment. Madam Chair, as you know, in Brazil, in Chile, also in Brazil, culture and heritage impact assessment are mainstreamed in environmental impact studies procedures. And in the case of Valparaiso, the impact assessment for the access to Terminal 1 and 2, close to the property, are ongoing since 2017, and they have been informed to the center in the last State of Conservation report. In the draft decision, it requests the state party to submit an assessment of the impacts of Passeio del Mar and the vehicular access to Terminals 1 and 2. But since these impacts are already being addressed in the environmental impact studies for both these interventions, we have submitted the draft amendment simply to add the expression, the appropriate impact assessment. The idea is to provide clarity and legal certainty to the Chilean authorities, as well as to avoid rework and duplicity. With this small amendment, it will be clear to the state party the need to submit to the center the ongoing environmental impact assessment, so that they don't need to provide to come up with a new documentation. Perhaps we could see the small amendment on the screen. Well, in closing, Madam Chair, Brazil would like to join the Center, ICOMOS and ICROM, in commending the state party for the substantive SOC report it has provided. It has addressed the committee's past decisions and recommendations, as well as the factors affecting the property that were identified in early reports and decisions. And Madam Chair, Brazil is confident that both these interventions foreseen for the vicinity of the property will enhance its OUV. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would now invite Mr. Mauro Rossi, Chief of the Latin American and Caribbean Unit of the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, to respond to the comments made by the Brazilian delegation. Thank you. You have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, nous comprenons que l'amendement proposé par le Brésil sert à clarifier le texte de la décision sans en altérer le sens. Par conséquent, nous n'avons pas de réserve ou d'autres commentaires à faire, à formuler à son égard. Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je pense que l'ICOMOS aussi souhaiterait prendre la parole.
Thank you, Chair. ICOMOS concurs that this is a useful amendment which aligns the wording of the decision with the relevant Chilean statute. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I would ask the rapporteur to project the text so that... I'm sorry? Oh. Delegation of Kuwait has the floor. Thank you.
I would like to also to echo what has been said by the delegation of Brazil, Madame Boss. We also agree upon the minor changes in the draft amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we ask the rapporteur if there are any comments. If not, we could perhaps move to the analysis of the text. Are there any comments on the text? I think I see no comments, so I believe we can declare this decision adopted. Thank you very much. Sorry, I will now invite Mr. Mauro Rossi to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The list of the cultural property for the Latin American Caribbean region for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion reads as follows. Brasilia, Brazil, churches of Chiloé, Chile, port, fortresses and group of monument Cartagena, Colombia, Maya site of Copan, Honduras, archaeological site of Panama Viejo and historic district of Panama, and a historic center of Lima, Peru. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If there is no objection on the state of conservation report, and I see none, I declare the decision read adopted. Thank you very much. I would, at this point, invite Colombia to take the floor, since I understand the Colombian delegation would like to make a statement. Please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Siendo esta la primera vez que tomo la palabra, queremos aprovechar para felicitar a la República de Azerbaiyán por su hospitalidad y generosidad al reunirnos hoy aquí. También deseamos agradecer al Comité de Patrimonio Mundial por la oportunidad de poderles brindar una breve actualización sobre la decisión que acaba de ser aprobada en torno al puerto, fortalezas y conjunto monumental de Cartagena. Llegamos a esta decisión luego de un trabajo conjunto con el Centro de Patrimonio Mundial e ICOMOS, que inició en diciembre de 2017, cuando ICOMOS hizo una visita de asesoramiento técnico a Cartagena, que concluyó con un exhaustivo informe que nos ha sido útil para definir una hoja de ruta integral para el sitio en términos de dar solución a los desafíos mencionados claramente en la decisión. Menciono esto, Presidenta, porque esta decisión sobre el estado de conservación de Colombia afianza nuestro compromiso como Estado parte de la Convención y con los procesos de gestión, manejo y conservación de este sitio como patrimonio mundial. En este sentido, quisiera mencionar que en el marco de la legislación de patrimonio existente se han establecido instrumentos jurídicos, técnicos, administrativos y financieros para definir las características que vamos a tener en cuenta a partir de ahora. Por ello, avanzamos en la elaboración de 3 planes de manejo, de los cuales uno de ellos, que ya está concluido, garantiza la protección del entorno del Centro Histórico de Cartagena y que permitirán asegurar la preservación de los valores culturales y naturales del sitio. Sobre el avance de estos procesos informaremos al Centro de Patrimonio Mundial el 1 de diciembre de 2020. Frente al caso del proyecto Acuarela, mencionado en la decisión, el Ministerio de Cultura presentó al Centro de Patrimonio Mundial en diciembre de 2018 la evaluación del impacto sobre el valor universal excepcional de Cartagena y concluyó, como ya lo había anticipado ICOMOS, que dicho proyecto, y en particular el edificio construido al frente del Castillo de San Felipe, altera de manera irreversible las características de la integridad del sitio. Por lo anterior y frente a la gravedad de la situación, el Estado colombiano quiere dejar constancia en este comité de que está totalmente comprometido en tomar todas las medidas necesarias que resuelvan el impacto que ha originado este proyecto. Frente a las acciones legales lideradas por el Ministerio de Cultura, la construcción del proyecto Acuarela fue suspendida en 2017 y actualmente enfrenta varios procesos legales que confiamos terminarán en la demolición parcial o definitiva de la Torre Acuarela. Muchas gracias, Presidente, a usted y a todos los Estados miembros del comité, así como al Centro de Patrimonio Mundial.
Muchísimas gracias. Now we move to Africa, and for the next property to be discussed, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of Burkina Faso, which requested the State of Conservation report on Royal Palaces of Abomey, Benin, to be opened for discussion, to present to the committee the reasons why it made such a request. So Burkina Faso, the delegation of Burkina Faso, you have the floor. Thank you.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais tout d'abord saluer le travail que l'ICOMOS a effectué en 2018 sur le bien culturel dénommé Palais Royaux d'Abomey au Bénin. Un travail professionnel qui a révélé certes des problèmes que connaît le site, mais dont l'objectif est surtout d'éviter que ce site ne perde certaines de ses attributs. C'est en réponse à des préoccupations de valorisation que le Bénin envisage la réalisation d'un musée sur une partie du site avec comme objectif de créer une attraction supplémentaire, créer les conditions de sécurité pour accueillir les biens culturels à restituer au Bénin et qui étaient partis précisément d'Abomey, utiliser intelligemment l'espace des palais royaux d'Abomey en assurant un entretien qui renforce la sécurité, particulièrement contre les feux de brousse, générer des ressources propres pour la gestion du bien, créer les conditions pour accroître de façon substantielle les revenus des artistes et artisans installés sur le site depuis plusieurs années. Le projet de musée que prépare le Bénin, au-delà d'être un programme d'investissement, est surtout un projet de développement qui participe d'une meilleure conservation du site et renvoie à la nécessité de concilier patrimoine et développement durable. À cet égard, l'État partie s'engage à prendre les mesures nécessaires pour ne pas porter atteinte à la valeur universelle exceptionnelle du bien, en veillant à ce que le projet s'intègre harmonieusement dans le cadre existant, et a fait un rapport au Comité du patrimoine mondial à sa 44e session sur l'état de conservation du bien et sur les mesures prises pour mettre en œuvre les recommandations. La démarche d'ouverture des débats sur les palais royaux d'Abomey vise à apporter des éléments d'information supplémentaires sur le bien culturel avec des amendements proposés au projet de décision portant essentiellement sur la conception du projet. Madame la Présidente, je demande que vous puissiez donner la parole à l'État partie du Bénin pour des informations complémentaires et je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Before we pass the floor to the state party, I would like to ask Mr. Mukala, Chief of the African Union of the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS, to respond or to react to your intervention. Thank you very much. You have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. En effet, nous avons eu des consultations donc, avec l'État parti et nous avons recommandé que l'emplacement, de même que les formes du futur musée, soient choisies en faisant strictement attention à ne pas porter atteinte à la valeur universelle du bien. Et l'État parti nous a apporté ses assurances de collaborer étroitement avec le Centre du patrimoine mondial et les organisations consultatives à ce point. Et si vous me permettez, Madame la Présidente, je vais donner la parole à l'ICOMOS pour compléter les éléments. Merci.
OK, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to start by saying that ICOMOS strongly supports the idea of a museum, but cannot support the current proposals. A new museum focused on the Kingdom of Dahomey would, in our view, be very timely. The kingdom is one of the best researched in West Africa, with physical remains spread across Abomey and other towns in southern Benin. Significantly, considerable archaeological research has been undertaken in Dahomey in the past 2 decades. The museum could present an integrated approach to the material heritage of the kingdom that would be unparalleled across West Africa, reflecting a symbolic and political landscape from the 17th to the 19th centuries. The property includes the remains of 10 palaces that served as residences of the king and his some 2,000 to 8,000 dependents. Each king built a new palace. They are set out in a spiral pattern radiating outwards from the Agringomi Palace, and this plan had a clear political purpose and therefore is of extreme importance. Within the palaces, the courtyards around which the buildings were arranged are also important. They were stages upon which the notable dignitaries of the day vied for royal favor. The Dahomean royal palaces and their settlement landscapes are thus absolutely essential to an understanding of the complex symbolism of the kingdom. Today, the full meaning of this integrated cultural landscape is hard to comprehend, with overgrown courts, dilapidated buildings, and insensitive new additions. The difficulty with the current proposals for the museum, is that the proposed location is within the large Court of the Amazons, located between 2 royal palaces. The proposed museum buildings, based on traditional forms, but much larger and with modern materials, such as artificial straw, could contribute to a false interpretation of the palaces, as well as confusing their layout and disrupting the differentiation between what were private and public spaces. The museum would cover some 4,000 square meters, with the remaining open spaces in the court being used for car parking. Thus, the site and the proposed design cannot be seen as acceptable in terms of their highly adverse potential impacts on the integrity and authenticity of the palaces, and thus on outstanding universal value. In our view, ideally, the museum should be placed outside the palace complex, and the mission identified one possible site. Or, if inside, it would need to be much reduced and sited on the edge of the court. As the State of Conservation report makes clear, the mission considered that many of the palace buildings are in an advanced state of deterioration, and this is confirmed by the state party, and they are heading towards irreversible decline and a potential loss of outstanding universal value.
The proposed state-of-the-art museum could sit very uncomfortably within this environment, and the extreme contrast is also reflected in the management and funding of the museum and the palaces. In ICOMOS's view, there is a need to reassess the museum project to allow consideration of how it could support conservation of the palaces, as otherwise in a decade there is a possibility that the museum might take over from it. During the committee, ICOMOS has had an opportunity to discuss all our concerns with the state party. We understand that there is now a change of view on the museum project and that new design approach is being considered, and both of these are welcomed. We would also welcome the opportunity for dialogue on the museum project with the state party and how it might be combined with the conservation of the palaces, which together we consider could be an exemplary project. And we look forward to further discussion with the state party on this way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would now pass the floor to the delegation of Benin. Please, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Bénin tient à remercier l'Azerbaïdjan pour l'organisation parfaite de cette 43e session du Comité du patrimoine mondial. Nous nous réjouissons aussi de l'excellente collaboration de toujours entre nos équipes, celles de l'ICOMOS, de l'ICROM et du Centre du patrimoine mondial. Nous avons demandé l'ouverture de ce point pour les raisons suivantes. La décision insiste sur le projet de nouveau musée d'Abomey. Je voudrais rappeler que ce projet est destiné à régler deux problèmes. Être un soutien pour le site et accueillir les objets à restituer par la France par décision du président Macron. Ces objets sont partis de ce lieu précis et nous ne souhaitons pas voir évoquer l'argument que le pays n'a pas les capacités techniques pour recevoir ces objets. Par ailleurs, le programme global inclut une attention pour la conservation de la totalité du site en respect de toutes les dispositions de la Convention. En fait, les premières idées de plan de musée ont changé depuis décembre 2018. Il convient aussi de souligner que ce projet améliorera les conditions de travail et les revenus d'une cinquantaine d'artisans, femmes et hommes de différents corps de métier installés là depuis des décennies. Des emplois induits sont attendus. Nous souhaitons ainsi que soient affinés quelques points de la décision. Nous proposons de supprimer la mention à la Banque mondiale. Nous partageons le souci de lutte contre les incendies sur ce site et allons l'étendre à l'ensemble des bâtiments. Nous nous sommes mis d'accord avec l'ICOMOS et le secrétariat pour travailler ensemble pour que ce projet de musée soit une réussite du point de vue de l'ensemble des dispositions idoines de la Convention. Les ajustements suggérés par le Burkina s'inscrivent dans cet esprit de travail collaboratif que nous souhaitons maintenir avec les organes consultatifs et le secrétariat de la Convention. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. I think we could now move to the adoption of the decision 43COM 7B 103 on the understanding that there are no more further comments to this topic. I would ask our rapporteur then to project the text and to make any suggestion you might have to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll just go through Burkina Faso's amendments. The first 7 paragraphs are unchanged. Paragraph 8, slightly reworded, also notes the proposal for a major museum focusing on the Kingdom of Dahomey as part of a wider development and investment programme, Benin Révélé, developed with presidential approval and covering numerous projects in 9 sectors with national funds and resources negotiated with various partners. The next paragraph's unchanged also. Then a new paragraph 10 recommends that the State Party ensure that the new museum effectively enhances the understanding of the property and the interpretation for visitors in its final implementation. Paragraph 11 recommends that the location as well as the forms of the future museum be chosen with care so as not to damage the OUV of the property. Then the next 3 paragraphs are proposed to be deleted entirely. Then the former paragraph 13, now to be 12, would read, recommends the state party ensure that the new project encompasses conservation of the existing palaces, and in particular that the future revenue generated by the museum can also support conservation and management of the property. 14 is proposed to be entirely deleted. Then a new 13 recommends that the state party consider establishing a comprehensive strategy for the sustainable funding of the site's conservation. 14 requests the state party submit the final architectural project proposal for the future museum to the World Heritage Centre for review by its advisory bodies before its implementation. I think we better move before its implementation to make that clear. So what that should read is requests the state party submit the final architectural project proposal for the future museum before its implementation to the centre. Yeah, that's before. That's, I think, a bit clearer. Then 15 also requests the state party to establish a special fire safety plan for the site and install in the immediate future appropriate fire detection systems in the main buildings and ensure all fire extinguishers are operable. And then I think 16 is unamended. And if we just scroll, that's the end. So that's the amendments proposed.
Thank you. I believe that all amendments were well read out and explained. I understand I can count on your agreement to the amendments proposed. Australia has some comments, please. You have the floor.
Madam Chair, in one of the paragraphs, if you can scroll down towards the bottom, the fire management plan, it refers to a site rather than to the property, and I just considered that in proper wording it should be, and probably their funding for the site's conservation. There's, in a couple of places there's site rather than property.
Thank you very much. The rapporteur will perhaps make it more uniform. And in the meantime, we would like to listen to our colleague from Angola. Thank you.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je ne sais pas si la procédure serait de regarder paragraphe par paragraphe ou on va peut-être apporter disons, nos contributions à d'autres paragraphes qui sont là. Quelle est la procédure, en fait?
Merci beaucoup. On a distribué les textes et pour gagner un peu de temps, je vous demanderai de formuler vos commentaires ou vos suggestions au paragraphe spécifique. Merci beaucoup.
Merci bien. Donc, je vais au dernier paragraphe, en fait, le 16.
The rapporteur will project the paragraph to which you have comments.
D'accord. Donc, si les membres du comité sont d'accord avec les amendements portés sur les autres paragraphes, donc le paragraphe 16, sa dernière partie, qui commence par « enfin », devrait être supprimée.
I would like to listen to the delegation of Norway. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Floor, for giving Madam for giving Norway the floor. I'm sorry to bother you this way, but we are a bit confused about the discussion. Could we start from the top, or and then, because what we feel is that there are so many changes with regards to the text, the draft decision that we started. Where we started to start with. So we actually would like to have a discussion from the top, if that's okay. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. We just thought that you all had the text and that you had already had the time to look at it. So it was just on behalf of saving time. But anyway, we go paragraph by paragraph from now. Okay? So, paragraph 1, any comments? Can we approve it? Tanzania, delegation of Tanzania.
Sorry, Madam Chair, we wanted to intervene before when our distinguished delegate of Angola was speaking. Just to say that, Chair, our understanding that both the state party and advisory bodies agree on the usefulness, desirability, and benefit of proposed project of the museum. So my delegate asked both state party and advisory body to continue dialogue to find consensus and appropriate location of the future museum, the scope, and the design of the project to enhance AUV. For that, my delegate of Tanzania support the amendment proposed by Burkina Faso and our distinguished delegate from Angola. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We took note of your comment and your suggestion. Can we proceed paragraph by paragraph on the decision? So having approved paragraph 1, paragraph 2, I think we have no amendments, as well as to paragraph 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We have no suggestions of amendments to paragraphs from 1 to 7. Even so, do you want to see one by one? No. So we can consider paragraphs 1 to 7 approved. Thank you very much. Paragraph 8, are there any comments? No comments, I see none. I'm sorry if I don't see because the light is on in our eyes. Please raise your hand again. I see no comments to paragraph 8, so I think we can declare it approved. Thank you. Paragraph 9 as well. I think there was no amendment to it, so consider it approved. Paragraph 10. Any comment? Approved. Paragraph 11. Any comments? I don't see any. So approved. Delegation of Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. We are just a bit hesitant about the wording because we think it's important that we might keep the wording that ICOMOS proposed, or that was proposed in the draft decision, and that was that it's seriously undermining the OUE or the property. It might be a softening of the language if some of the other committee members might agree with us, but I think it's important that we don't lose track of keeping the OUE. Thank you.
I ask the distinguished delegation of Burkina Faso if you agree with the proposal made by Norway.
Madame la Présidente, il me semble que la proposition d'amendement que nous avons faite correspond exactement à l'esprit des discussions qu'il y a eu entre les parties, à savoir l'État partie, l'ICOMOS et le Centre du patrimoine mondial. Ce faisant, pensons que nous pouvons nous contenter de la formulation en l'état. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Spain, con la palabra. Gracias.
Sí, gracias, presidenta. Nuestra delegación le gustaría unirse a los comentarios que acaba de hacer la delegada de Noruega, en el sentido de que nos sigue preocupando el tema del museo, por cuanto, según el órgano consultivo, parece que puede afectar al BUE, y esto sí que es realmente preocupante. Al no ser que nos aclare el Estado parte que realmente este proyecto se le ha dado la vuelta, la verdad es que nos sentiríamos más cómodos, nuestra delegación se sentiría mejor si este apartado se mantuviera. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. Angola, com a palavra.
Madame la Présidente, si on a bien suivi les interventions de l'ICOMOS, de l'État parti, en fait, il y a des pistes de solutions qui sont possibles. Donc, l'ICOMOS n'a pas rejeté l'idée de construire un musée, mais il a proposé deux possibilités. Donc, cela veut dire qu'il y a possibilité de continuer à travailler sur le projet pour le mettre en œuvre. Donc, le dialogue est encouragé entre l'ICOMOS, le centre et l'État parti pour affiner les projets et pouvoir le mettre en œuvre. Donc, pour le paragraphe 11, nous suggérons que le mot « gravement » soit supprimé. Ne pas porter préjudice. Oui, on est d'accord, mais pas gravement. Je vous remercie.
Muito obrigada. Merci beaucoup. Any more comments? So I would ask our colleagues from Norway and Spain whether they would be comfortable with the proposal made by the distinguished delegate of Angola. Okay, so please.
Yes, Madam President.
Thank you. Spain. Muchísimas gracias. So, as I understand, the paragraph stands as it is, paragraph 11, as it is projected on the screen. If there are no more comments, I will consider the paragraph approved. Angola wants one more clarification.
C'est l'Angola et pas l'Ouganda.
Je n'ai pas dit, mais c'est l'Ouganda.
Non, le rapporteur avait écrit Ouganda. C'est l'Angola qui a proposé. Je m'excuse, peut-être vous n'avez pas le texte devant vous. C'était écrit Ouganda et pas Angola, en fait. C'est corrigé maintenant, voilà.
Excusez-nous, s'il vous plaît. Muito obrigada. Je crois qu'on peut approuver maintenant. Ça va? D'accord? Merci beaucoup. Approved. Thank you. Next. I'll ask the rapporteur to project the text of the next paragraph.
Former paragraph 10 and 11 and 12 are proposed for complete deletion. And then the next paragraph, new paragraph 12, reads, recommends the state party ensure that the new museum project encompasses conservation of the existing palaces, and in particular that the future revenue generated by the museum can also support conservation and management of the property.
Are there any comments on the text just projected?
Can we just add an S after ensure, please? So it'll read, recommends the state party ensures.
Are there any comments to this paragraph? No comments? Can we consider it adopted? Thank you. Adopted. Madame Rapporteur, the next.
Former paragraph 14 proposed for complete deletion. New paragraph 13 reading, recommends that the state party consider establishing a comprehensive strategy for the sustainable funding of the property's conservation.
Are there any comments? Yes, Uganda, please. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm proposing a simple correction in 13 to add S after consider, so that reads, recommends the state party considers. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I had already pointed out this minor addition to the rapporteur. Thank you very much. Any more comments? Can consider this paragraph approved. Approved. Thank you very much. Madam Rapporteur, let's move to the next.
Requests the state party submit the final architectural project proposal for the future museum before its implementation to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies.
Are there any comments on this paragraph? No comments? Can we consider it approved, I think? Yes. Approved. Madam Rapporteur, let's move to the next.
Also requests the state party to establish a special fire safety plan for the property and install in the immediate future appropriate fire detection systems in the main buildings and ensure all fire extinguishers are operable.
Any comments? No? Approved. Let's move to the next. Madam Rapporteur.
Here we have a proposal from Angola and the United Republic of Tanzania to delete with a view to considering, in the absence of significant progress in the implementation of these recommendations, and in the case of confirmation of the ascertained danger to outstanding universal value, the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you.
Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to keep the last part, please, with a view to considering and so on.
Thank you very much. Australia?
Madam Chair, we'd also like to keep the last part of the paragraph. We think that although there's certainly in the amendments that have been made, there's a move to collaboration and dialogue around the museum, and we're pleased to see the request for a sustainable funding mechanism. ICOMOS has highlighted some very serious and urgent conservation measures that are required to stabilise the buildings and the property, and therefore we would like to retain the second part of the paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanzania?
Thank you, Chair. If this committee is to be consistent, we have been trying to refrain from using such wording to the state parties. And we have always tried to encourage state parties to continue working. But, Chair, if you go to paragraph 183 to 189 of the operation guidelines, it gives a clear procedure on how we put sites on World Heritage in danger. It clearly says we have to get a corrective measures identified. Instead of writing such a language, probably we could ask ICOMOS and the other advisory bodies to try look for the corrective measures before we put sites on the World Heritage in danger. I'm aware of sites that have been on the World Heritage in danger for 15 years, and still there are no corrective measures put in place. We understand back in our places where we come from, it's also difficult. You are put on a danger list, then you stay there forever. So I wouldn't like it to, with Tanzanian delegation, wouldn't want to discuss too much, but it's only that we have been trying in our own working mechanism, trying to refrain from those type of language. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Spain, you have the floor.
Sí, gracias, presidenta. Brevemente, para no alargar el debate, nos unimos a las delegaciones de Noruega y Australia porque consideramos que es una buena cautela el mantener que si no se hacen progresos suficientes la posible inscripción en la lista en peligro. Gracias.
Thank you. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Yes, Indonesia also would like to retain and keep the red lines. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you. Any more comments? Any more comments? Burkina, please.
Madame la Présidente, la délégation du Burkina soutient la proposition de l'Angola parce qu'effectivement, on peut comprendre cette mention-là comme une anticipation sur quelque chose qui n'est pas encore arrivé. Et du reste, comme l'a dit la délégation de Tanzanie, c'est une disposition que le comité essaye d'éviter au maximum. Et du reste, nous avons déjà agi conséquemment pour d'autres projets dans la même situation. Je vous remercie.
Guatemala, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora Presidente. Únicamente quería hacer el mismo comentario. Este mismo día se evaluaron dos decisiones y se eliminó esta redacción. Entonces, para ser coherentes como comité, habría que mantener el mismo criterio para no tener dos estándares diferentes de evaluación y de decisión. Muchas gracias.
Angola, very briefly because we are running out of time. Thank you.
C'était juste pour dire que si on a bien suivi les interventions, nous devons faire confiance à l'État partie et également à l'organe consultatif de travailler. Donc, nous appuyons encore une fois de plus d'effacer cette partie. Merci.
Madam Rapporteur, after the intervention of the distinguished delegate of Angola, how would the sentence read?
I understand from the distinguished delegate of Angola that we would just keep his amendment to remove with a view to considering, in the absence of significant progress in the implementation of these recommendations, and in the case of confirmation of the certain danger to outstanding universal value, the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger. And that deletion has been supported by Angola, Tanzania, Burkina Faso and Guatemala, with Norway, Australia, Spain and Indonesia wishing to keep that text.
Well, we have a tied score. Any suggestions on the side of committee members? Thank you. Burkina, you have the floor. Thank you.
Madame la Présidente, je pense que l'intervention du Guatemala vient trancher. Il y a quelques instants, nous avons eu une position vis-à-vis de dossiers similaires. Même s'il y a égalité, restons dans la logique du comité. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Azerbaijan, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My delegation also is in favor of deletion of this part, as it was already mentioned by many colleagues, that we need to be consistent and in the decisions that we are taking. And we asked the state party to submit the report by this report on the state of conservation by February 2020. So let's wait till this time and receive the information that will be provided by the state party. And then, based on this information, on the implementation of the recommendation of the reactive monitoring mission, we can make an assessment of the situation. So, as we have already expressed several times, that this wording sort of prejudgment or putting implies sort of a failure on the part of on the state party. So we would prefer also to delete this part. Thank you.
Tunisia, thank you, Azerbaijan. Tunisia, very briefly, please.
Je serai très bref, Madame la Présidente. D'ailleurs, on n'est pas intervenu dans le cadre, puisque les idées essentielles étaient développées, on n'a pas voulu rallonger le débat. Mais sur ce point, je crois que d'abord, le point 17 prévoit un rendez-vous avec l'État partie pour la 44e session, c'est-à-dire l'année prochaine. Ce n'est pas loin. Et l'intervention du représentant de l'État partie a montré, à mes yeux, une prise de conscience de la situation. Et je crois que même le projet d'amendement initial ne prévoyait pas cette suppression. C'est dans notre discussion et dans une logique de cohérence globale de nos décisions que cette proposition est venue par l'Angola et nous la trouvons bienvenue. Donc nous appuyons la proposition de l'Angola et le groupe de pays qui vont dans cette direction.
Thank you very much. I understand that some countries still requested the floor, but if, as far as I understand, there is agreement regarding deleting the last part of the paragraph. If Uganda and Indonesia are in the same sense, I would, and Cuba, if you are going to say the same thing, then maybe we could accelerate, and Zimbabwe. Just to gain time, I understand that the committee, in its majority, is in favor of deleting the last part of the paragraph. Is it so? Okay, Indonesia, you want to speak. Thank you.
I just want to, not really to keep it, but give, if you give a verbal report on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe we can then approve the paragraph, okay, with the deletion of the last part of its last part, okay? Thank you very much for your cooperation. Approved. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, for our next property to be discussed, I would again give the floor to the delegation of Burkina Faso, which requested the state of conservation report of the Lamu Old Town in Kenya to be open for discussion, to present to the committee the reasons why it made such a request. Please, you have the floor, delegation of Burkina Faso.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Je m'en vais vous donner les raisons de la demande d'ouverture de débat sur la vieille ville de Lamu au Kenya. L'État partie Kenya estime avoir fourni toutes les informations demandées par l'organe consultatif avant le rapport sur l'état de conservation, contrairement à ce qui a été mentionné au paragraphe 3 du rapport. Et s'agissant de l'extension de la zone tampon du bien, l'État partie trouve que la requête est irréalisable en raison de l'occupation actuelle de la zone alentour. Quant à l'étude d'impact sur le patrimoine concernant le projet de l'aéroport Manda qui a été demandé, il s'agit simplement d'une restauration et non d'une nouvelle construction qui nécessiterait une étude d'impact. Par ailleurs, concernant le projet d'usine de charbon de Lamu, l'État partie informe que la consultation des parties prenantes est en cours et que, à ce stade et à cet égard, le projet est suspendu. Au regard donc de ce qui précède, des amendements au projet de décision ont été proposés et je voudrais, une fois de plus, Madame la Présidente, que vous puissiez donner la parole à l'État partie concerné pour de plus amples informations. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Oui, mais avant, first I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Mukala and ICOMOS to react on your comments. Thank you very much. You have the floor, Mr. Mukala.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The committee has expressed its concern over the potential impact of the LAPSET project on the property since 2009 and repeatedly requested the state party to submit a map clearly demarcating the boundaries of the property and its buffer zone and a strengthened management plan. Also, regarding the LAPSET project, is continuing with a shipping channel dock already under construction. At the time of writing, the National Environment Tribunal judgment is pending on the issue of environment impact assessment license for the Lamu coal plants. With the focus on the LAPSET project, other factors affecting the property authenticity and integrity, such as deterioration of dwellings, threats to the safeguarding of its Islamic and Swahili culture, and the need for protection of the fresh water supplies are not being reported on. We have also noted on the amendment that has been mentioned by the committee member of Burkina Faso that the court law and which is decision has been mentioned in this decision, which we have not really received the content, and it will be very difficult for us at this stage to acknowledge this document, this draft, without having knowledge of what really the court law have really decided. So without further continuing, I'm giving the floor to ICOMOS.
Thank you, Madam Chair. ICOMOS would just like to comment briefly on the issues for which this State of Conservation reports have been opened. We would like to recall that the committee has made many requests for the state party to provide adequate documentation. ICOMOS still does not, I fear, have full details of the overall scope of the LAPSET project. If we are to gain a clear understanding of the interrelationship between the LAPSET project and the property, this can only be readily achieved if the necessary documents are provided. We are not requesting full documentation on all aspects, but sufficient documentation to understand the scope so that we can request more documentation if it is needed. Documents are also needed on the property boundaries and particularly the buffer zone, both as requested by the committee, if we are fully to understand the interface between the property and this project. On the coal plant, we consider that the pause that is now taking place is an opportunity for an HIA to be undertaken, and in order that the outcome of that can influence further discussions on whether or not the coal plant goes ahead. The need to protect the setting of the property through a formal buffer zone has long since been requested by the committee, and in ICOMOS's view is urgently needed. The state party has indicated that there does now appear to be some confusion as to how a buffer zone would need to be protected. What is needed is adequate protection through planning tools. Gazetting the buffer zone as a protected area is not necessary, and certainly a buffer zone does not mean removal of traditional activities such as farming. We consider that the request for a buffer zone to be delineated is essential for the protection of the property. We suggest that discussion on how protection might be arranged should be discussed during the reactive monitoring mission, which unfortunately had to be postponed in February but is to be rescheduled. Similarly, we also consider that the question of the impact, the impact of the proposed work on the airport could also be discussed at the forthcoming mission. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. If there are no comments on the part of committee members, I would like to pass the floor to the state of Kenya, to the delegation of Kenya. It was Uganda. I'm sorry, Kenya. Uganda had requested the floor, but it was a bit hidden. So, Uganda, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The delegation of Uganda notes there are some critical matters that will affect the local community if the buffer zone of the Lamu Old Town are extended to incorporate the entire Lamu and Manda Islands. The proposed line of action within the draft decision will create hostility and exacerbate negative attitude towards site management. We need the support of the local communities. The Lamu Old Town already has an adequate buffer zone of water catchment and the mangrove ecosystem. Consequently, taking up community land will present challenges to the site management. Uganda delegation takes note of the case before courts of law on the development of the Lamu Coastal project, where the state party has been required to revise the environmental impact assessment and the strategic environmental assessment for the LAPSET project. We have also learned that the state party has commenced these revisions. It is in this regard that the state party should be urged to complete these processes as a requirement before the projects are commenced. We thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. I would pass the floor now to the state, to the delegation of Kenya, but with the observation that the more we speak, the longer will we stay here this evening, because we still have some items ahead of us that have to be concluded today. So thank you very much. Kenya, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, the State Party of Kenya wishes to highlight the current status of our fulfillment and obligations to the Convention towards the conservation of Lamu Old Town World Heritage Site. Kenya gazetted the current buffer zones for the property, and this includes the Lamu Water Catchment Area and the Manda Kitau Skyline. These were gazetted in 2002 and 2008 respectively and are adequate for the protection of OUV of Lamu. The requested revision of the buffer zone around the property to include at a minimum of all Lamu Island will be too restrictive to the local community, especially in the use of their farmlands. Honorable Chair, I also wish to state that the revision of the LAPSET SEA to include the recommendations of HIA of 2015 as requested by WHC is underway, and Kenya commits to submitting this report to the World Heritage Center upon its completion. Finally, I wish to inform the committee that Kenya plans to carry out additional studies as recommended in the Heritage Impact Assessment of 2015, as well as undertake fresh environmental impact assessment for the Lamu coal plant project as recently determined by the Kenyan court, whose details will be submitted to WHC once we get back home to Kenya. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I believe we can now move to the adoption of Decision 43-7B-107, and I would ask our rapporteur to project the text. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've received one set of amendments. The first two paragraphs are unchanged. The third one would read, regrets that the State Party provides only limited information on the state of conservation of the property and reiterates its request to the State Party as a matter of urgency to submit to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies A, an updated, clearly delineated map of the property and its enlarged buffer zone, which should be formalised through a request for minor boundary modification in line with paragraph 164 of the operational guidelines. B to F are unchanged then. Paragraph 4, 5 and 6 are also unamended or proposed. 7B would also be amended. I'm just going to read the very top of 7 just to put it in context, because the languages needs a little bit of changing. Further requests the State Party to revise the draft strategic environmental assessment of the LAPSET project by, and I think I would change it here to urgently implemented. Implementing. Oh, sorry, this is B. So B, instead of urgently requested after the LAPSET project, by urgently implementing the decisions of the courts of law in respect to the development of Lamu coal project that requires the State Party to revise the project EIA. That's just to be in context with the top of 7 there. Then paragraph 8 would be revised. This would need to say also requests the State Party to complete the revision of the LAPSET SEA. And that's the last amendment proposed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I see that the delegation of Tanzania requested the floor. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, Madam Chairperson. Tanzania wanted to speak before the adoption, but it seems there's no contradiction, but we just wanted to support the amendments. Thank you, Chair. Especially, yeah, it's fine. I think it's okay. We support the amendments.
Thank you very much. Norway. I hope you will go in the same direction. So thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll attempt to be going in the same directions without too much hesitation at this time of day. We would, in 7B, ask for a little addition. After the sentence ending with "to revise the project EIA," we would put a comma and insert, ensuring that the protection of the outstanding universal value of the property is the baseline for the EIA. And in item 8, there's also a small comment, please. So I'll wait for the rapporteur. We also consider that it should be submitted to the World Heritage Centre and reviewed by the advisory bodies, please. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, you finished with your comments. Thank you. Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Chair. To be brief, we are supporting the amendments that have been proposed by Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you. Australia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we can go back up to 7B. We don't know what the decisions of the courts of law or what, we don't have any information about what those decisions were or any reference to those decisions, and we don't know whether we can approve that as it is, and whether the committee can do that.
Thank you. Any more comments? Maybe Burkina Faso could help us in answering the question posed by Australia. Thank you.
Madame la Présidente, je voudrais demander de passer la parole à l'Ouganda, à la délégation de l'Ouganda, sur cette question.
Uganda, could you take the floor on this topic? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We would request that you give an opportunity to the State Party of Kenya to briefly elaborate on this matter. Thank you.
Okay, Kenya, could you please take the floor on this topic?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the court has ruled that we do a fresh environmental impact assessment should be done immediately for the purpose of involving local communities on the ground, and their sentiments are put into consideration before any activities are taken. So the court has ruled in favor of the petitioners who petitioned the project, and therefore, unless that environmental impact assessment is concluded with the involvement of the local community, then I think that's where we are. And the government of Kenya is heading towards that.
With this clarification by the member state, can we move for adoption of this paragraph? Australia.
Madam Chair, I think that we need some formal reference to what these decisions are. We don't know which, it doesn't say which courts they are, what the decision numbers were, what they're in relation to.
Could Australia propose an alternative language to this? Then we would submit it to the state, to the committee member that proposed the amendment.
Given that we don't have the information about that, we could suggest reinstating the text proposed for deletion by Uganda, because it doesn't specifically refer to the courts of law decisions. But otherwise, I don't think that we can put that amendment, agree to that amendment, without further information about what those decisions are.
Would you be more comfortable if we associate those court decisions to ICOMOS or IUCN recommendations, to advisory body recommendations? No? If they are in compliance with recommendations?
We'd have to refer to ICOMOS and IUCN, ICOMOS in this case, for that, I think, Madam Chair.
ICOMOS, would you try to help us in this regard? Thank you.
I think without further information on precisely what the legal courts have said, it's impossible to refer to their decision. The original text was trying to highlight the need for the potential impact of pollution from the coal plant to be addressed. And I presume that's actually what the Court of Law is asking for, that a revised EIA would do. So it would seem preferable to keep the original wording, unless we can be much more specific on what the Court of Law is actually asking for.
Thank you very much. I think Norway requested the floor. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Only an attempt to facilitate. Could we possibly ask Uganda, who proposed this, to sit together with the distinguished colleagues from Kenya and outline, specify the legal decisions, which courts of law we're talking about, and return with this in a paragraph that can be adopted later? Is that a possibility? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your suggestion. I'll pass the floor to the distinguished delegate of Tunisia. Thank you.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais rejoindre l'intervention et la dernière remarque de l'honorable représentant de la Norvège sur la question de la précision que l'on doit prendre autour de la référence à une décision de justice. Et je crois que c'est sage de laisser cela en contact avec l'État partie, parce que ça pourrait être une décision de premier degré et à laquelle on ferait référence dans notre acte et sous notre décision, et ensuite elle peut faire l'objet d'un appel ou d'une cassation, et donc il vaut mieux s'assurer quel est le niveau juridique dans l'ordonnancement national du Kenya de cette décision. Et donc je rejoins totalement la remarque faite par l'honorable représentant de la Norvège.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I would, at this point, request the distinguished delegate of Norway and Burkina Faso and Uganda to get together and try to get a common text so that we can approve it by the end of this session, or hopefully later in this session. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dear colleagues, we now go to the site fossil hominid sites of South Africa. So, delegation of Burkina Faso requested the State of Conservation report to be open for discussion, and I would like to give the floor to the delegation from Burkina Faso, please.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Concernant le site des hominidés fossiles d'Afrique du Sud, de l'avis de l'État partie, le rapport met l'accent sur une partie du site, en l'occurrence les composantes Sterkfontein, Swartkrans, Kromdraai et environ, et tout particulièrement sur la mine de drainage d'acide, considérée comme une menace potentielle particulière par l'organe consultatif. Cette vision restrictive du rapport d'état de conservation n'est pas acceptable pour l'État partie. Telle est la raison essentielle de la demande d'ouverture de débat sur le site des hominidés fossiles d'Afrique du Sud. Et des amendements ont été proposés pour cette décision, ce projet de décision. Et je demanderai également pour ce dossier-là qu'on puisse donner la parole à l'État partie pour de plus amples informations. Je vous remercie.
Any comments from the committee members? No. Norway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know it's late.
Sorry. May we first give floor according to the procedure to Center and ICOMOS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We have had extensive consultation with the state party, and in particular, I just want to underline that the state party has submitted a well-structured risk prevention strategy focused on the issue of acid mine drainage for the fossil hominid sites of Sterkfontein, Swartkrans, and Kromdraai of an environment component of the property. The risk prevention strategy sufficiently illustrates that acid mine drainage does not pose a significant continuous threat to many of the fossil attributes. It includes also that appropriate monitoring and emergency response mechanism. The monitoring and possible intervention strategy included in the risk prevention strategy should be translated into the final integrated management plan. So with the consultation, we were able to reach a mutual understanding position to which we will be reflected in the amendment. If you allow, Mr. Chairperson, I give the floor to ICOMOS, please.
Please, ICOMOS, you're welcome.
Thank you. Very briefly, we had a discussion with the state party as indicated, and we have explained the meaning behind paragraph 6. So no amendments are needed in relation to the risk prevention strategy. A small amendment has been agreed with the state party under paragraph 9, which ICOMOS fully supports. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, but then we agree to the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanzania.
Chair, the delegation to Tanzania is a way of discussion between the state party, the center, and the ICOMOS for common understanding. For that reason, Tanzania proposed to the distinguished committee member to make a mini amendment on the draft decision to stream the effort of the state party to enhance constructive dialogue between all stakeholders. Thank you.
Zimbabwe, please.
Chair, thank you. We support this minor amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May I give the floor to the state party, South Africa? Anyone?
Thank you.
Please, you are welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chair and advisory bodies, we just like to add that South Africa is committed to the conservation and protection of not only World Heritage sites in South Africa, but all protected areas. We have specific legislation that deals with World Heritage, which was promulgated as far back as 1999, which is the World Heritage Convention Act. and it is also complemented by other subsidiary legislation. We have a South African World Heritage Convention Committee appointed by the Minister, which oversees the implementation of the convention. We would like to indicate to the committee as well as the advisory bodies that we will do our best to ensure that the outstanding universal value of the property is not compromised. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. We will take the note. Angola, please.
Thank you, Chairperson. Angola as well follow with attention the fruitful discussion the state party had with the advisory body and the center. So they found some consensus that will help us to adopt the amendment proposed by Tanzania without losing our time. I think we can proceed with the draft.
Uganda, please.
Mr. Chairman, Uganda delegation is in support of the amendment to the draft decision that focuses on the purpose for which paragraph 172 of the operation guidelines was drawn. We thank you.
Thank you very much. It seems that we have an agreement, certain agreement on this draft. I would like to give the floor to Rapporteur, please.
Thank you. And if we could just have that paragraph, the decision on the screen. We have just one minor amendment as flagged to paragraph 9 of this decision. So all paragraphs to paragraph 9 remain unchanged.
It's not Kathmandu.
Once again, we're ahead of ourselves, Mr. Chair. Yep, so we'll just scroll down to paragraph 9 with the minor amendment only. And this will just to remove both inside and outside the various buffer zones. So that's the only amendment proposed for this draft decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I consider we can approve this text in whole, not to discuss it paragraph by paragraph. You don't mind. Thank you very much. Approved. Now we are moving to the list of the sites in Africa region to be adopted without discussion. Please, Mr. Mokala.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The list are Asmara, a modernist African city, Eritrea, Rock-Hill churches of Lalibela, Ethiopia, the foreign castle Volta, Greater Accra, Central and Western region in Ghana, Apravasigat in Mauritius, Osun Osogbo Sacred Grove in Nigeria, the highland of Saint Louis in Senegal, Kutamaku, the land of Batamariba in Togo. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. It is proposed to approve this list without any discussion. I hope there is no objections. Thank you very much. We approve it. So now we are returning to the site, to the file 7B70, Kathmandu. May I give the floor to Rapporteur? The working group provided the draft decision, the result of the dedicated work. So please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you recall, the first 8 paragraphs were adopted already. So if we turn to paragraph 9, the drafting group is comfortable with paragraph 9. Paragraph 10 would read, requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 February 2020 an updated report on the state of conservation of the property and the implementation of the above for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 44th session in 2020, with a view to considering, in the absence of significant progress in the implementation of the above recommendations to address the certain danger to the outstanding universal value of the property, the inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger. Paragraph 11 reads, underlines that the state party's cooperation in conducting the requested and overdue mission will be a key consideration for the committee at its 44th session. Paragraph 12 finally reiterates, consistent with Decision 40-7, that the inscription of a property on the list of World Heritage in Danger should not be viewed negatively by the state party. Its purpose is to marshal international support to help the state party effectively address the challenges faced by the property by engaging with the advisory bodies, to develop a program of corrective measures to achieve the desired state of conservation for the property, as provided for under paragraph 183 of the operational guidelines. And that is the amendments of the drafting group. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So can we, should we proceed paragraph by paragraph, or the drafting group already proposed the solution of the matter? Thank you very much. We approve the file in whole. No, we're not going to the 7, 8, 9. Mrs. Rosler, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So there are a number of sites open under from 7B, as you have discussed. For example, Lake Ohrid is open until we close under item 8B. And also for Lamu, there is the drafting group, as you just have heard. And as you know, the chair already announced that items 7.2 and 7.3, the draft decisions for 7.2 and 7.3 are also open, and we come back to this item after the item 8B. With your permission, Mr. Chair, I also would like to make a number of announcements. First of all, dear delegates, don't leave this room with your headsets. I don't know what you want to do at night with your headsets, but they should be kept here in this room to be charged. Otherwise, you don't hear anything tomorrow. Secondly, the Bureau meeting is in the Bureau room at 9:30. And the budget group has finished its work today, and tomorrow we will start with the operational guidelines group at 2 o'clock. Then you have at 6:30 the Kabak Nan event, sharing experiences and good practices in room 8A. And at 6:10, communicating World Heritage by the Austrian-German National Commissions in B2. And at 6:10, World Heritage and Conservation of Wilderness and Large Landscapes and Seascapes by IUCN in room B3. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So we are going according to the schedule. Tomorrow morning we will be here at 10 o'clock and we will start the discussion of the nominations. The Bureau meeting will be tomorrow at the same room at 9:30. And as usual, we are proposing you to go to one of the nice sites in Baku. We have the exhibition of the archaeology in the Museum of Art, where you will find a very interesting collection of different artists from all over the Europe, Azerbaijan, and other pieces of the world. So have a nice evening, and if there are any questions, you can apply to the Secretariat with them before tomorrow morning session. Thank you.